Okay, so Mr. Taylor is very lively. The guy can talk for England, I'd say. I think we laugh at how corny his jokes were. Although I don't know how he feel about that, hearing that, but okay, it's been said now.
I was doing some coursework with him on the New Deal. He produced this this outstanding response, and I thought he's very good. And from then on, I really said to him, listen, if you work hard, you can get to Oxford if that's what you want to do.
Here we are now, it's just a bit crazy. How time flies. I distinctly remember a conversation he had saying like, he doesn't care, if you're black, if you're white, if you're purple, if you're poor, if you're rich, if you are good enough and if you can thrive in this place, he wants to get you in there.
And he was actually really quite shy to start with.
It was a bit weird because he would one week tell me to read out a history, and I would stammer through it in front of the class, which was so embarrassing. Then the next week he'd ask me to do it again.
Increasingly you'd sort of brought him in and teased him in a bit, and he would then volunteer answers, and increasingly then began to volunteer first answers.
But yeah, he's very much has given me that desire to go further and to think that the measure of something's worth is not what you get by it, but what you become by it. I'm going to quote Mr. Taylor again. When he does say something, although it might not appear like students may have responded as he'd like, I think it does stick in their heads.
He's quite a trailblazer, Ephraim, and I don't think he'll ever, he's a strong personality. I think it was more important just that we said, listen, you're good enough, you're good enough.
If Mr. Taylor wasn't around, I don't know what would have happened. I'd like to think I would have been okay, but I really don't know.
But it was really nice to have been nominated, and to have been nominated by Ephraim in particular was fantastic, because he is, he's a considered opinion, and I like that. And also the fact that he was just such, a force for good, as I said.
What would you want to say to Mr. Taylor?
Can I look at the camera? Nah.
Yeah, go on.
Thank you for encouraging me to apply, for all your help and belief in me and helping me to help myself, Mr. Taylor.
The classroom was my favourite place in Bryn Haven.
It was a beautiful classroom.
She worked so hard to make it absolutely amazing. It was lovely. I was really lucky. And we were just sitting there on a Friday afternoon drinking tea and chatting about work or anything else that I might have needed help with.
I couldn't keep up with her marking. I used to have stacks and stacks, like a little Charlotte Rose pile, stacks and stacks of marking. Just add that other one to the pile, Charlotte, that's fine.
We did interview sessions together.
I mean, I know nothing about medicine. I didn't know anything about medicine.
She contacted friends of hers who'd done medicine.
Yeah, no, I just genuinely enjoyed those sessions. I didn't see it as work.
So she didn't know if any of the facts I was saying was correct.
I didn't get her into medicine. I can't do that.
When I heard, she was the first person that came to mind.
And she just ran into my classroom and blurted it out and then gave me a big hug. And I was like, whoa! And then the whole class were like, yes!
And just sort of burst with excitement that I'd got it.
You don't want to say, oh yeah, you're going to get this, because that belittles the achievement, but in the back of my head I was thinking, yeah, she's going to get this, she's brilliant, she's exactly what they're looking for.
Every now and again we text about either work and university and how school's going for her and how this is going for me.
She'd text me saying, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe who I'm with.
Last term I met Ian McKellen.
And with Sir Ian McKellen talking about you.
I was sort of sat there and sort of discreetly under the table guess what?
Next thing, she rings me. So I was at home, I was like, there's no way I'm answering the phone right now. Is this Sir Ian McKellen talking to me? Not a chance I'm answering the phone.
And he just played King Lear, which I'd studied with Hannah.
So she did revision bunting for King Lear before her exam, and then gave it to me for my classroom. This is how you should revise.
I just want to thank you for everything. I wouldn't be here without everything you did to help me. Thank you. Yeah.
In the right environment, with the right teaching and the right learning materials, students get excited.
He always used to say that he wasn't there to teach us. He used to say that he was there to facilitate our learning. Especially now being at university and being completely in charge of my own education, it was a very useful skill to teach.
I know, there's no black pudding there. Look where they put the sauce, they put the sauce on the beans. Yeah.
Without me mentioning that I'd always wanted to come to Oxford, he he kind of brought it up with me.
You recognise the ability and the desire and the hunger, and you keep them on track.
I think it was my parents who originally kind of planted the seed of that idea. I think it came from watching Morse or Lewis or something.
And I always encouraged her in that because I knew she could do it. I knew she had the intellectual ability, she had the work ethic. She could be a damn good Oxford candidate.
It was amazing to think, oh, I really wanted this my whole life and I'm here. It was so unbelievable, so surreal.
I think she over-exaggerates the role that I played in her success.
The reason I was so eager to nominate him for this award is that I saw it as an opportunity to say thank you.
I was so gratified by the idea that somebody who was in their second week or third week at Oxford, who must be absolutely snowed under, should take the time to sit down and compose a testament about your teacher, which must have taken her a long time. I know because her personal statement she doesn't write quickly. You know, I just thought, what an amazing thing to do.
Did you show off about it?
Oh, I've been unbearable. I've been absolutely unbearable.
I came into teaching late. I actually dropped out of sixth form after 5 months. My parents were appalled. I was in my 30s and I did my A-levels with 16-year-old students in a class, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. I just appreciated it so much more. I love to write that in a reference. You know, this student loves learning. You can see it in them. And you think, yeah, you know, you're going to love university.
It was always Kim that pushed me to apply to Oxford because I suppose she saw the potential, whereas I wasn't really sure. She just sort of always there to talk, even if you were stressed. And I remember before one of my psychology exams, I sort of like had a panic attack and I was really like upset. And
there was a moment, and my heart sank. All of this, you know, 2 years work, the admissions tests, the interview, and it all comes down at the end to the performance in one exam out of 3. You know, you've got to go in there and you've got to perform to your best. You've worked for this for 2 years. It's the thing that you most want. Now go in that exam room and show them what you can do. And off she went, and clearly she did it.
I honestly think if she hadn't have done that, I would have blown that exam and not made my grades. Being here is what I wanted more than anything. I think she's just happy that I've got that.
Honestly, it is. I never cry about anything. I'm a manager in the college and, you know, professional at all times. But I wept buckets over that statement because you don't know the impact that you have on a student. She gave me the book that inspired her to take psychology at A-level, and that sits on my bedside table, just to remind me really of what was for me just a brilliant experience. It's not a lie, it's there, and I look at it and I think, yeah, she's out there. She's out there doing it for psychology. She also gave me a stress ball.
Just a thank you for everything that you did, and I wouldn't have achieved half the things I have if it wasn't for you, so thank you.
So I have a social communication disorder called Asperger's syndrome, and I'm quite dyspraxic as well. So before I was at sixth form, I was actually homeschooled, and that worked really well for me. I sort of had my own freedom to pursue my own interests, but it was really quite a big change to arrive in a place where there were so many people.
I saw him for 45 minutes a week, and once he began to find his feet, that just tallied up a little bit. He would drop into the office if there was something he needed help with. When it came to producing his UCAS application to university, he was in the office every day. Sometimes twice.
And I'm grateful to all my subject teachers as well, but yeah, certainly I think Chris had a major impact on helping me to achieve what I achieved.
When a lad comes in with 10 GCSEs at A and A star, then you're not going to push them to a local apprenticeship. You're going to push them to as far and high as they can possibly get.
Because you do get thrown quite a lot of stuff quite quickly here, I sort of got used to the whole way it works a lot quicker than I did perhaps when I arrived at sixth form.
I'm autistic myself, I've also got dyspraxia, so I know exactly the struggles that Matthew has. And that's why this award means so much to me, because it's recognition that the hidden curriculum stuff is equally important as the academic curriculum. And it is something that's kind of being squeezed out a little bit, and it's not fair. It really does help all students when you've got a good, broad range of support.
I hope you'll take this award as just a sign of that gratitude.
I spent most of my childhood and adolescence in Greece, living abroad, and came back to the UK when I was 19 years old.
ROCCO didn't join, like I said, till the middle of October, after the whole of the first term.
From a very early age, my kind of silent protest of not getting on so great there was, reading and writing. So it was kind of a long game for me.
And I was asked, can you take another student on at this stage? And I was just rather brusque and said, there we go, that's all the stuff we've done after half term. He just then presented all of this stuff. He'd done a lot. And I remember looking through it, you're brilliant.
He is probably the single most influential tutor I've ever encountered.
Teaching people that have not had it easy in life. Their first experiences at education were intensely negative. When you give them that second chance and they grab it with both hands and they love it, then that's the enjoyable bit.
He says, why you think you're going to university, where are you thinking of going, will you apply to Oxbridge, will you pick, will you try? And I was always a bit tentative and nervous about that. I was like, are you quite sure? This might just be one of his crazy ideas.
I mean, I went to a very ordinary comprehensive, but there was somebody in my class who went to Oxford, and there was nothing posh about her, and she was just great, she was just clever.
Yeah, if I went back and asked myself if I, especially 17, 18, when the prospect of qualification was virtually zero, that would make it to a university like this. That would make it to university at all, let alone a university like this. I would have thought they were crazy.
And it's great when someone just flies, when someone is just, sort of spend a bit of time with your company and nudge them in the right direction. But after that, they are just far more talented than you ever were, ever will be.
Obviously, he'd say, no, nonsense. You didn't need me at all, kind of thing. But again, I feel like he has to be told that that the experience of being taught by him is invaluable.
It's nothing to do with me, really. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, it's not, and that's not false modesty. It's the idea that the whole concept of having an award for teaching brilliant and gifted students, there shouldn't be an award for that.
I admire his modesty, but sometimes it can be just like,
So what about the fact that he obviously thinks that you were instrumental?
Well, that was then. He's had a couple of months of Oxford education from those days. He's a much brighter man now.
For once, just to take a compliment, to say, you know what, thank you. You know what I mean?
No, I was completely hopeless.
Take a compliment.
No, one iota of use. I think he will be able to see the error of the folly of his youthful exuberance. Yeah.
Students come from other schools and come and have a look around, and I can usually spot who I think I'd quite like in my lessons. Hi Anna. She asked me questions about biology that were totally random.
She was telling me about her third year project, and I was like, wow, this is actually what I've been doing since I was a child, poking at bugs. And
I don't think she cared where it took her, she just knew that she loved that subject.
I went into the interviews with the sort of mindset, right, I can actually do this. And if I hadn't had that sort of backing from her and from the rest of the biology department, I feel like it would have been such a different experience. Because she makes you believe in yourself, and that is half the job, really.
I don't feel like I inspired Maddie in that way, but I do think I earned my crust. I think I earned this award in just trying to rein Maddie in to mark schemes and the boringness of passing an exam.
She's just always there in the back of your mind, like when I'm writing an exam paper, I can hear her like, oh Maddie, your work's so scatty.
She's so eccentric and so fabulous.
I'm like, thank you, Anna.
So I had to rein all that intelligence and all that eccentricity and all those thoughts that she had into, right, let's just answer this question, shall we now, Maddie, rather than being somewhere up there.
It just makes me laugh thinking of Anna like, Maddie, please write it on one page. It would really help.
But then every time I do something now in a lesson, I always think to myself, an inspirational teacher do that? Probably shouldn't be doing that.
Keep going.
I needed her to tell me that, Grace, it is actually achievable. And so whenever I had moments where I was like, oh, I really regret this, or it isn't for me,
I just said that was utter rubbish.
It sounds very dramatic to say this, but if she hadn't been in my school, and if I hadn't had her as my teacher doing AS, I wouldn't have applied to Oxford.
I could just see this little soul struggling to be something different, and she had her eyes on that prize, and my role was just to nudge that along the way, you know? No, it really was, and that's not being modest.
But there was just something about Sally when she came to the school that really sold it to me, not as a dream, but as a reality.
In the 2 years I was at Pencoy, to have got her from, that's definitely not going to happen, to, oh my gosh, I'm here and I love it. And I'm nominating you to say thank you. That's like the ultimate journey, isn't it?
She gave me a massive hug. We were both like a crying ball of mess in the middle of this hall that we were in. I wouldn't have applied, wouldn't have interviewed, wouldn't have sent her 17 drafts of my personal statement.
We were on draft 27 by the time she was finally happy.
There would be none of that. I would have probably gone to a good university closer to home because I'm a home bird and I miss my dog.
Grace is a nerd. She's a literature nerd. And we were quite a nerdy A-level class, and she was the uber nerd amongst the nerds. So she needed a new nerdy milieu, and I think she's probably found that now.
I haven't seen him in such a long time. The only reason why I nominated him, not like the only reason, like I do enjoy his company, but this would be like a chance for me to see him again.
Well, I didn't get a letter because no one could track me down, so I actually got a tweet. Yeah, I've sort of made myself quite hard to track down. You know, you don't move to Westreave because you love being in the metropolis, you know, so it's right at the top. Well, not right at the top, it's not Shetland. My partner got a job here as the head teacher of the school. I talked about before I came here, I wanted horizons to look at. It's quite a strange thing to want, but it's nice to get found. So maybe I just want to be found.
So, I was good at maths. I had not always loved maths until I met Danny. After a while, he would see me and he'd be like, oh, okay, now I have a puzzle for you. Each puzzle made me understand how to think differently.
I've come to realise why mathematics is important. It's at the root of many of our sort of cognitive and emotional sort of ways of being. Mathematics sort of teaches you about that. They say, no, here's a habit. And can you alter your way of thinking about that? So that's why puzzles are useful.
So, with Danny, right, things were difficult at home. I never had to say to Danny, I'm going through this, and he'll be like, are you okay? And I'll be like, yeah, and he'll be like, no, you're not. Because you normally get it wrong, but now you're getting it wrong even faster.
So it was always about mathematics. Quite often people who do maths have quite a strange relationship, which is always centred around the mathematics.
He wouldn't touch on the matter because he knows how sensitive it is. But he would be like, you see how you're solving these maths questions even though they're difficult for you? That's how you have to do it in life. Like, we found maths in everything, but we also put maths into everything. And yeah, that's what made me enjoy every single moment I had with him.
It was lovely to be found by him. And what's really nice as well is I'm inviting my mentor to come to the ceremony. So that'd be really nice. You know, I'm sort of saying thank you to him for the help he's given me, and it's kind of like a chain. That's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted him to come, is for Desmond to meet him too.
You are more than just a tutor to me. Like, you are a friend, you are a dad, you're a mentor, and you're not solely the best teacher that I've ever had, but you're solely the best teacher who induces excitement into me and who brought me from a low point to a high point. So I appreciate you for that.
But I'm probably not going to be teaching after this year. So it was really nice to sort of have an award, or have something that was like, because it's like a sort of end. It's quite a nice end.
The days fly by, the weeks fly by, the terms fly by, the years fly by. But it's what gets you out of bed in the morning, you know? It's
speak to them as you would speak to any other person.
What I want to say to her, I don't know, that I'm really proud of her.
I haven't quite got the word for it.
I'm really proud of her.
She's the kind of student who
Respect.